So what is Fascinate assessment? And is and what is your Fascinate assessment? Let's find out.
Building spirituality, family, health, and business. This is the Giant Builders with Lois Wyant.
Hi, Giant Builders. Welcome. Today's guest is Lori Blatt. How are you, Lori? Well, don't tell us how you are. No.
I am good, all things considered, Lois. Yes, battling the old C19 right now, but I am upright and ready to talk to you.
I am so proud of you to be here in front of me with being sick and all of that. I mean, it's the power of a woman.
I'd like to think so. That either that or I'm just crazy, but I I love talking about what I do, and I'm grateful to be able to be here with you and your Giant Builders community.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So you are with Fascinate Assessment. So how did you and Fascinate Assessment find each other?
Well, so I've been self-employed for 20 years. Been in the marketing, branding arena, and just, have found that like every 2 years, my business really needs to evolve because technology changes.
Mm.
You just see what's working, what's not. And so I first came across the How to Fascinate assessment in 2020. I'm sorry, 2019. And I took the assessment. Someone sent me a link, and I came up as a trendsetter, as you can see in my little call out there, trendsetter. And I sat there and I went, "You have got to be kidding me."
Really?
Yes. I was totally not embracing the archetype name. I'm like, to me, a trendsetter was or is Kim Kardashian or, somebody else, but not like me, trendsetter. Are you kidding me? So I kept coming back to the report and rereading it. And, this archetype comes from, it's built out of 7 advantages. So the assessment takes you through a series of questions, takes like less than 5 minutes to take the assessment. And it uses the answers to those questions to help identify the advantages that you use when you show up as your fullest potential, as your best self. It's how the world sees you versus a lot of these other assessments out there are psychology based. This is branding based. So as I worked through my own report, trendsetter is innovation. So it's the ability to change the game with creativity, and prestige, which is all about excellence and elevating standards. And I'm like, okay, I can wrap myself around this in terms of the advantages, but this term, the trendsetter, I don't know. So as I dug deeper, what I came to find is, trendsetters take risks and they challenge the status quo and they push the envelope on things, but they back it up with really high expectations and high quality work. And I'm like, okay, I can get behind this now because I do that. I take risks. Everybody's going this way, and I'm the one that says, you know what, I think I'm gonna go over here. And I go and do that. So it did, I realized it did really illustrate how I show up in my best. And as I started to embrace it more, I saw it begin to really impact my work and my business more. So then in 2020, I decided that I was going to get certified. So through the certification process, it's a bit of an intensive. We really learn the ins and outs of the assessment, how to read the reports, how to apply what we see in the report, out to our colleagues, our clients. And then really, I saw this really great potential to make this part of the branding work that I did, to be able to really dive in and help someone understand who they are, how the world sees them, and make sure that they're building their brand and their messaging around that, so that it really resonates and it feels sustainable. Because I think that's where a lot of people get in trouble with their marketing and their brand is, one, they try and be everything to everyone, and then they get burned out trying to do the social media or do the blogging or the posting, writing, what have you, and it gets diluted. The brands get diluted.
So how is this different than other tests like the Myers-Briggs or things of that nature?
Yeah, so Myers-Briggs, DISC, Strength Finders, 360, they are psychology based, as I noted before. So it's really about, they help you evaluate how you perceive your environment and how you work in it. Where Fascinate really does, even though you are taking the test, it really does formulate how you show up, how others perceive you. So it's asking you questions about things that you've heard from people, and feedback that you've gotten. So that's where it's different from those other tests.
So do the results of this test help me change something? Just makes me aware of something? What do I do with that information?
Yeah, so it's definitely a self-awareness first and foremost, because when you start to see how you scored with these 7 advantages, we have all 7. It's just that we have 2, our primary and our secondary. That's what makes up the archetype. And you Lois, took the assessment and you came out the archer. So we're going to talk about that.
Okay.
So your excuse me, your primary of mystique, so that's the language of listening, and alert as your secondary, that's the language of details, all comes together to create that archer. Just like mine, trendsetter is language of creativity with innovation, and the language of excellence with prestige. So those come together. So there's a chart, literally there's technically, it looks like 49, 7 by 7, but we'll talk about this. There's a diagonal through the chart that doesn't count. It's not an archetype that you would get, but we'll talk about that. That's double trouble. But it is self-awareness. The other thing is that it helps you realize that you don't have to change who you are. You just need to become more of who you are. And when you step into that, then you really are delivering the best value to the people around you, be it clients, coworkers, even your family. For Christmas this year, I'm actually giving an assessment to my direct immediate family, because I think it'll be fun to see how everyone scores and what archetypes are at play. And then when we work with teams, there's actually a tool called a heat map that you can place everyone's archetype on this heat map, and it gives you an overall view of a unit, of a functioning unit, and how they relate to each other. Because at the end of the day, this is so powerful, because it's all about communication. And when we understand how we best communicate our ideas and our skill sets, and those around us understand as well, it just opens communication silos that, before were preventing teams or colleagues or even family members from communicating effectively.
So is this something that's good to have, like, say you're going to hire an employee? Is this something good to like have them take to understand them, or even to find out if you should hire them? I mean, are there archetypes that work better together?
Yeah, so there certainly are correlations, like balances between the archetypes. So I'll give you an example. A lot of times startups are have a lot of the innovation, the passion, this, sort of this upper quadrant that is very sort of emotional and idea driven, which is great. But we all know that a lot of startups fail.
Mhm.
And that's because they often lack the people who are in mystique, in alert, in trust, that are a bit more grounded and analytical. So it is really helpful to understand, like, where's the team at? And if we're looking to hire someone, wow, what do we want? Well, we're really heavy in this area. We want to write our ad, our job description, to find someone who's more, in this quadrant, with the stability, the detail, the ability to listen, to help counter us who are over here freewheeling ideas 24/7 and need that anchor to be able to, keep us on track. So yes, it can be a really handy tool for hiring.
Okay, so my report said I am an archer. Tell me what that means.
So you use mystique and alert in this is how you show up in your best self, and how you deliver at your highest value. So one of the things that you can do with this, if you get a physical report. So this is Lois's. You get a physical report. There's some great video that really help explain the archetypes and how you deliver value, and just kind of the mindset around having these two advantages as your top two. So this is about focused communication, that finds accurate solutions to complex problems. So does that sound like you, Lois?
Yeah.
So some of the adjectives, each archetype, or I should say each, oh yeah, the archer's top 5 adjectives are on target, reasoned, pragmatic, sharp, and under the radar. So it's this, like, you don't rest until you've completed a task. You are very aware of the details, and often in a meeting, you are probably the quiet one in the room who's processing all that's going on. You won't be the first one to speak up because you want time to digest what's going on. Am I on target with
You
this?
are so on target. This is scary.
It is, yes. And so one of the challenges in like a team environment, when you have mystique archetypes, a lot of times they're viewed as being disinterested
Yeah.
because they are quiet and
Yeah.
they are trying to simply assess, digest the information, and then they're the ones that come back an hour later, a day later, and say, so I was thinking about this and here are my ideas. They just need time because they really are really attuned to listening and processing. And that's then how they best formulate how they want to take their next steps. And then you tie that in with alert as your secondary, and you're all about the details. making sure bad things don't happen, that things are kept on target, on schedule, on budget. And that's just, those two together make you the archer, and that you have this distinct focus for getting things done.
No. Does it also accommodate that I always have really, really long to-do lists?
It may.
Okay.
You're extremely thorough. It's interesting because I think when, when we start to realize maybe some of the things that we looked at as quirks, or I don't know, what's another word for it? Quirks, or just perceptions of how we show up.
Mhm.
When we start to embrace them, I think it's then that we can really say, wow, if I really focus on showing up in this way, and taking my messaging this way, weaving it into my LinkedIn profile,
Mm.
I am going to be the truest version of myself, and that's going to come across. So I had a little side note. I had a coach that I was working with. He, wonderful guy, was a CEO of a family business, and came in was brought in at the last minute as CEO to help pivot the company, and it was too late.
Mm.
And he had to make the tough calls to actually close the business. They declared bankruptcy. It was heartbreaking. And he spent 4 years trying to get beyond that. And when I met up with him, he was just getting his coaching business started, because he said to me, it was so poignant. He said, Lori, I want to be the coach in my 50s that I wish I had going through this. And so now, working with him, he's an anchor. So he's actually, oh, where is he? He's actually trust and mystique. So he has this stability about him. He's very grounded, and he has a great ability to listen. And we took that and really wove it into his business messaging, because he was kind of talking to anybody. And working through this really helped him realize, I can talk, that the people that I can talk to best are people who are trying to prepare for their fourth quarter. They're business owners that want to move from success to significance. And since doing that, his business has just like catapulted. He's launched an executive coaching program, and I'm really lucky that he's blessed that he's come back to me. It's like, Lori, we got to do Fascinate with my clients. So, I mean, that is really the power of it, that to be able to take this into your brand really helps to make the pieces fit together. So there's a third component to this, and a bit of an exercise that you can do is your third advantage, which yours is innovation. So that's your third highest. If you look on page 12 of your report, you get an analytic, and it shows you how you scored in each of the 7 advantages. Again, we have all 7, but your top 2 are where you're going to function in your wellspring. So it's easy, it's work you like to do, it's invigorating, and you feel your best doing it. When we get into what is our dormant, which for you was trust, I believe, am I right? Let me just check
I don't
here.
remember. So what do you mean by dormant?
I'm sorry, prestige. Prestige was your dormant. So dormant does not mean devoid. It doesn't mean that you don't have it.
Uh-huh.
It just means that if you have to function in prestige, in that prestige mold for too long, it is exhausting to you. It's like quicksand. So that can look like, if you're asked to, like be in the limelight for any length of time, it
Yeah.
feels it feels awkward to you. Um, you probably don't take accolades all that well. You just kind of like, okay, thanks,
Yeah.
and kind of put it to the side. It's not like the prestige component isn't a wellspring for you. So, but it can be your wild card when you're in double trouble. So double trouble is that diagonal that I told you about. So on the chart, and I'll just show this to your audience quick. So on your there is this is what the grid looks like, and this is part of your report. So the diagonal from top left to bottom right is double trouble. So that's where innovation meets innovation, passion meets passion. This is where, when we get overwhelmed, we get into double trouble. So I will start with me. So innovation is my primary archetype, and that double trouble is called the anarchy. So it's startling, it's chaotic, it's volatile. So yeah, so what happens is, and I find that this shows up in my work. This double trouble shows up in my work, and it's like, you don't like that idea? Fine, I'll throw 10 more at you. Okay, fine. I'll write 10 blogs instead of just one, right? I create a vomit at the wall. And instead of being, very succinct and standing by my decision. On the flip side, my secondary, you can experience double trouble in that too. And I see that at home. So prestige is my secondary. And that is, when you get into double trouble, that is the imperial. So it's arrogant, cold, and superior. So I'll tell you what, let my husband challenge me on something that I know is right, but he can't see it yet. And I totally shut down. Like, that's it. Okay, fine. You figure it out. Let me know. I'm out of here. So it's funny to me as I've learned what these insights are, how they really do show up.
Mhm.
So now for you, your mystique is the deadbolt. So if you're in double trouble, you're overwhelmed, feeling, just need that space, but it's like everything's right here. You get unemotional, introverted,
Mm.
and you like double down on your concentration.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And and then on the flip side of that, the alert is the control freak. So this is like compulsive, driven, exacting. Like, and again, this is when we get stressed. This is what happens when these otherwise positive advantages kind of get multiplied out of control. So the best thing to do is to actually counter it with your dormant. So for me, my dormant is power. So it's it's interesting. It doesn't So power is all about being decisive and really confident and leading with conviction. So for me, what I need to do is, when that chaos hits, or the imperial, the um like the need to shut down shows up, I need to make a decision. I need to do a brain dump and, like, okay, what's my best path out of this? I just need to make a decision on how to get out of it, on how to move forward. And now for you with prestige, you may look at this, and you're in double trouble, and you just need to say, you know what? I need to take a stand for this. It may only, it might be a blog, it might be a post, but I just need to be heard about this thing. And then I just need to kind of unbreak. I just need to break this cycle of what's going on around me by speaking up and being recognized for having, a contribution to make or an idea to share, and not be silent. So, we can use that dormant advantage to our benefit when things are not, operating as we'd like.
Oh, wow. There's so much there.
Well, good. I'm glad that, that you're seeing what this can mean when you, either as a coach, consultant, who's looking to really hone in on their messaging, or as a team where, my gosh, we've got silos. We're not communicating like we should be. And how do we break down the walls? I mean, it's a great team building exercise. And as as we talked about before, as you mentioned, it can be a hiring tool to understand who do we need and write your description in that fashion. And then when you have you have this team map and you're adding new people to it, you can see where they're fitting in.
Yeah.
It's really
That sounds
helpful.
like, oh, that sounds like a great strategy as far as just dependent based on how big you want your team to be, that you would definitely want to expand on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
okay, I'm overwhelmed.
Oh no. All right. So just speak up now. And you know what? It's funny. You're wearing purple, and that's the color for
Oh
prestige.
no.
So I'm gonna encourage you to step into your prestige for a moment. And just I think, share what you think you're gonna do with this information next.
Well, I think that I'm going to print out my sheet and really study it over and look where I could focus more on my strengths. What, and maybe look at it a way as to how I really should be reflecting myself. Maybe it changes how I'm going to post on social media, or maybe it's going to change how I take my next step for my business. So I think that's really a good outlet to, as you stated, work within who I am.
Yeah. Absolutely, because that is where we're going to find the most fulfillment
Mhm.
and be able to sustain it over time.
Yeah. Well, any closing thoughts?
Well, I did provide a link that'll be part of this post
Yeah,
on your
it'll be below Giant Builders.
on the podcast. So that is a special that I give with podcasts. So you can sign up and take the assessment, and then you get an hour with me as we dive into it and take that report apart and see how it plays into your career and your business. So I hope your listeners will take advantage of that. I love being able to help people figure out how they fascinate, and it's such a powerful tool.
Oh, it is amazing. It really is amazing how just answering a few questions can say so much about yourself.
Yes, it's true. It's a little shocking, but
Yeah.
it is so worth it. And I'm really grateful that we connected, Lois, and I
Yeah.
had a chance to talk to your community about it.
All right, Giant Builders, make sure you fascinate. Click the link below. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening. This has been The Giant Builders with Lois Wyant.